Today's cover of the New York Post, which reveals the federal government spent $3.3 billion on furniture during COVID.
The splurge spanned across multiple departments, all while everyone was working from home during the pandemic.
Jacqui Heinrich is live at the White House with more. Jacqui.
Yeah, good morning to you guys. This is pretty incredible looking at the New York Post this morning. They're highlighting that excessive spending during the COVID pandemic when most of the federal workforce, as you mentioned, was teleworking. Most employees were at home. And this is especially relevant as we are hurtling toward that November 17th deadline to pass appropriations bills and fund the government. And we look at this excessive spending outlined here in this article this morning. Just look at the list. The Department of Defense topping the list, $1.2 billion in purchases, mostly of furniture spending. The Department of Veterans Affairs spent nearly $500 million, and the list goes on down through the Department of Justice, Department of State, Homeland Security, Treasury, Agriculture, Transportation, Health and Human Services. You know, some purchases included things like solar-paneled picnic tables. That was at the CDC. The State Department paid more than $117,000 for 40 Ethan Allen leather reclining chairs. That was at its Pakistan embassy. The Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency spent nearly $250,000 on high-end Herman Miller furniture. And Open the Books, which is this organization that put together the report initially, noted that the Department of Defense's furniture spending also remained higher than other agencies when accounting for pre-pandemic spending, with the Pentagon notching $2.1 billion in purchases between 2018 and 2022. Some agencies responded to the request for comment, like the VA. They argued that the vast majority of their workers were not teleworking during the pandemic. Also, the Pension Benefit Corporation told the Post that the agency had moved to a new headquarters in 2022 because of a lease expiration. The president stressed in his State of the Union that year that it was time for America to get back to work and fill our great downtowns again with people, but reports show that his administration's having a tough job cutting down on teleworking despite all of these spending levels. The House Budget Committee Chairman Jody Arrington responded to this report, calling it excessive, and also explained that the use it or lose it policy encourages unnecessary spending because these agencies are penalized instead of rewarded for not spending all of their year-end budgets. He said this is just one of the many perverse incentives that drive irresponsible spending in the nation's capital, and it has to stop. Of course, the spending is going to be a hot topic all the way through the next few weeks leading up to the expiration of the government funding, guys.
That's so interesting, Jacqui, because I know with the Pentagon, that was one of the complaints is if we don't use all our money in the branches, we're not going to get more next year. Right. So they just find a way to spend it instead of incentivizing people not to spend it. I guess the same thing with these agencies.
That's what it looks like, and apparently in at least one instance, it involved a whole lot of very nice chairs. So.
Yeah, but Jacqui, also, thank goodness they've got the solar-powered picnic tables. I looked this up, and you know what it does?
What?
All it does,
I'd love to know what it does.
What
no,
does it do?
It essentially charges your phone.
That is
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
However, what, like $250,000 on phone charging?
Explain that to me, though, because why are people spending so much time at a picnic table that they need to charge their phone out there?
Well, because during COVID, you had to be, in D.C., everybody had to be apart from people, so it's like go outside and plug in your phone.
Jacqui, I remember during the last debate when they asked Nikki Haley about the drapes, we read an article about how much the government had spent, how much the Obama administration had spent on the drapes at the UN. Yeah, it was like $50,000 on drapes for that apartment. Then we looked up how much they're spending on that apartment for the UN ambassador to live on First Avenue. It was almost $50,000 for an apartment in New York City. I mean, that's like most people. That's
unbelievable.
It is, but Jacqui, ultimately, Congress okayed all this money. They said, okay, give them this money. And that is one of the frustrations, and we've been hearing it ever since Kevin McCarthy lost his job, is there are a lot of members of Congress who are so frustrated with the out-of-control spending for $250,000 worth of solar-powered picnic tables.
They spend it like it's not their money, and it is our money. It's our taxpayer dollars.
Yeah,
so, but they're spending it like if this were their money, they would never buy a solar paneled picnic table for that amount of money.
Don't think
so.
so.
Well, I'll tell you, anyone who's concerned about not funding Ukraine, something like that, is this report is certainly not helping their cause to show that the spending is, going to good use, and it only represents a small portion of the overall budget. This is just not helpful to anyone, really.
All right, go get him, Jackie. We'll check in with you again.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.